All right, all right, all right. How y'all doing? This is my third stream of the day. Actually, I started one this morning very early. I'm not going to do the disclaimer thing tonight because I'm just going to be talking for a little bit, then I'm going to hop off. Basically, I want to talk about Pandora's box. Have we gone too far? And if you don't know what Pandora's box is, I suggest that you look it up and you answer that question for yourself. I've posted a couple videos today. One was on the Idaho 4. The other one was on online predators. Haven't been feeling too great, but I'm gonna try to go to the gym anyways. Um, just whacked my hair off, so it is what it is. Unlike Samson, I can still be strong even without the hair. But concerning what the stream is about, Pandora's box, have we gone too far? What I was thinking about this is whenever we get to that point of humanity where everything is acceptable, you know, I guess some people were raised in families where they were they were felt like they were too strict or that they were told what to do all the time or they couldn't do this, couldn't do that. And after a while, the world said no more. We're going to make what we want our priority one. So have we gone too far? Have we gone too far with lifestyles? Have we gone too far with the way we present ourselves in society? Have we gone too far away from manners? Have we gone too far away from morals and values? Have we gone too far from respect? You know, I talk about these things not because it's something that I really want to talk about because I'd rather talk about other things, but these are important to me. I was going to share on the last video when I was talking about child predators and things of that nature. It's easy to get caught up in that, and I'm going to share a story with you guys. I haven't really shared this story with a lot of people, so I hope you take it for what it is. When I was 16 years old, I was living in Dallas, Texas with my parents. And it was summer. The last thing I wanted to do was to be working. So I wanted to be swimming. I wanted to be, having fun. I had my first job at a movie theater, and I worked probably for about 2 weeks. And then one day, I never went back. But I kept getting dressed every day just as if I was going to work. I used to walk down this very isolated, drug infested, prostitution infested area of Dallas. I don't know if you guys know where Harry Hines is, Northwest Highway, Webb Chapel. That's actually where the movie theater used to be with the UA 12 or something like that. Well, anyways, I used to walk down that street and I used to see drug dealers and prostitutes and women getting beat down and all this stuff. Well, one day I just quit going to work and I hid my parents' bike because I didn't have one at the time, and I hid it behind the shed. And I went swimming in all the apartment complexes because they were close together. It got dark about the time that I normally came home from work, and I went to look for the bike, and I think somebody had been watching me, and the bike was gone. And I tripped out. I went home and I told them that I left the bike at the movie theater because I was scared of what the repercussions were going to be. So after that, I finally confessed that, I lost the bike, it got stolen. We went looking for it. I got in trouble, faced the consequences. But I still didn't own up to not having a job. I kept swimming in the apartment complexes. And then one day I was walking by this apartment because I'd been out there for a while and I thought, time for me to go. I walked by this apartment complex and this African American male, much taller than me, much more muscular than me, at the time, was in the doorway and he said, "Hey, how's it going?" I said, "It's going well. What's up?" And we started talking. He said, "Hey, you want to come in for a little bit?" And I thought, well, what what's the damage going to be done? I walked in. He led me to his room and he turned on some porn. And at this point, I knew that I had made a mistake. The door was shut behind me, and I knew I had made a mistake. Well, he started propositioning me and asking me if he could do stuff to me and things of that nature. And, kind of like the video was saying earlier, instead of being online, I was having that stuff done to me in person. And I told him no, 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 and kept kind of pushing pushing him away, like, no, I'm good, blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden there was a knock on the main door and it was a lady. He got dressed I mean, he wasn't naked, but he was like, he was hardly wearing any clothes. He got dressed really quick and let her in, and he introduced her as his girlfriend. And we were talking on the couch and blah blah blah. So, he was trying to shoo her off. And at that point I said, "Well, I gotta go, nice meeting y'all, blah blah blah." He's like, "No, no, you can stay, blah blah." No, I gotta go. So I left. And that was a lesson that I learned at a very young age, that you can't trust in everybody. I came from a small town where there wasn't a lot of people. There was like 900 people. I graduated in a class of 68. So being in Dallas area and experiencing that was a culture shock. After that, I confessed that I wasn't working anymore. I got sent to a children's home and then ultimately sent back to the small hometown to live with my aunt and my grandma. I've never really shared that with anybody, but it was a very eye opening time. And to think, if I wouldn't have taken that opportunity to leave and that lady would have left, what could have happened to me? Nobody knew where I was at. Everybody thought I was at the job, and here I was, just thinking I knew everything about everything and just trying to live to my best understanding of the world offered to me. And it could have cost me a lot. But back to the topic. Have we gone too far? Has Pandora's box been open, and have we gone too far? It seems these days that, you know, we've taken the simplicity out of life and replaced it with instant gratification. Hey Aquarius, how you doing? and we've replaced it with instant gratification, and we have also replaced it with wanting to learn more than we should at a particular time in life. Looking back on my life, as far as Pandora's box, I opened it up at a young age, as I said, 16. And I was raised in a very strict household. My dad was ex military. My mom was kind of like the nice, submissive, good cop. And, once I became 17, um, I went wild. I went wild. I thought I knew it all. I thought the world was mine for the taking. I, s- I pushed the envelope thinking that I knew it all. And looking back on life these days, it's kind of like the same thing, you know? At 17, 16, 17, we think we know it all. It isn't until later on when we get, see, I'm 52 right now. So when we get to middle age, even before this age, I kind of started figuring it out. But I really feel that I have it figured out by now. But over the years, have we opened up Pandora's box to where there is no more closing it? Like it seems like everything is without tabooness. It's like we must know about everything so quickly. We must be first at everything. We must have no real competitive spirit. We just expect to be the best without even trying. One thing that I see in the small community that I live in today is it's hard for them to keep up with the workforce. Like nobody really wants to work anymore. They'll work a couple days and then they'll quit. You know, like they thought raising minimum wage would solve the problem. It would take people back into the workforce. Making it $14 an hour, you can work at McDonald's. But all that did was raise the prices of gas and raise the prices of groceries and raise the prices of everything around you, rent. It didn't really solve anything. Now we've created a workforce that doesn't understand the value of money or even being able to take care of themselves and being reliant on their parents even longer. Excuse me. You know, I hope that it changes. I hope it really does. These last 4 years have really been trying on everyone. I'm pretty sure. Unless you're rich, most people live from paycheck to paycheck. They live from paycheck to paycheck. And I don't know about you, but I went and I bought groceries today. It was $50, and it was like 3 bags of groceries, and it wasn't even full. Groceries are high. Morale is low. How do we change it? How do we get to a good place? Well, some of the things that I do, and I'm going to share these with you guys because, you know, we all can be in the problem. Very few can be in the solution. You know, part of the solution is to gain that understanding of surrender and to understand, hey, some of the luxuries that I give myself, I need to cut back on those. I don't need to buy my kids or whoever everything that they feel that they need or want. Maybe invest your money, the little bit that you have, in stocks. In this town that I live in, there's a lot of people on disability, and yet they complain that nothing in this town is accessible to them because of their finances. Well, that's part of Pandora's box that I'm talking about, and I'm not trying to offend anybody here, okay? Because I know that disability was created for people that honestly need it. But I do not believe that whenever your choices cause you not to be able to work is ground for disability. If you created your choices, such as being an alcoholic, such as overeating to the point where you can't get to work because you're morbidly obese, or any other situation that you could have created a different choice, but yet you still are capable of walking when it benefits you. You're capable of being functional and doing other things when it benefits you. Give the check to those who need it, and get back to being the best version of you that you can be. And once again, I'm not judging. I'm really not, because I know some wonderful people that get disability that need it. They cannot be out there working, and they should not. You know, the same thing with Social Security. You know, all those things. I have elderly parents, and they one of them still works, and he's late. He's in his early 70s. The other one is in her middle 70s, and she was working until probably a year ago. People were just built from a different fabric back then. Just like the video I showed earlier, there was a little old lady that was talking about growing up in a depression where she used to have to milk cows and fuel up the tractor and make sure that everything was ready for her father to be able to take care of the land. I believe that as a society, we create our own wars in our minds. Since we have it so easy most of the time, and to be honest, we really do have it easy, other than financial strife. We don't have to grow our own food, most of us. We need clean clothes. We don't have to go down by the creek to wash our clothes. We have refrigerators to keep our food cold. Some of us have roofs over our heads, electricity. You know, it's things like that we take for granted, especially when we see people that don't have it. I drive by homeless people every day. I've even given to homeless. And you know what people tell me? Don't give them any cash. They're just going to go drink it up. They're just going to go use it for drugs. It's my money. Why are you trying to govern my money? As I stated on the last video, and this is kind of a continuum because I got to thinking I'd get on here really quickly. You know, many people without hope, they don't want to do better. There has to be somebody to believe in you to do better, to be better. And sometimes people don't have that. I can tell you just that little section that I shared with you about my life when I was young, that that escalated into my 20s, into my 30s. It wasn't until 35, 34 that I got my life in order. But all along the way, while I was crashing and burning, there was always some girl's mother who was being the mother figure. There was always somebody that I worked with that was older that was trying to guide me in the right direction, giving me rides, loaning me money, giving me advice, staying on me. And the whole time I was trying to change, trying to hold on to their hope. But I just didn't know how. I didn't believe in it. I didn't know how to change. And I believe and think that that is part of the problem these days is many people don't know how. Because for those that have changed, they've forgotten how far down they actually went before they started to change. And by the grace of God, I never had to go to prison to experience that. But I walked around in a prison inside my head daily, full of anger, full of regret, full of hate, full of misunderstandings about life, full of depression, full of anxiety, full of contempt for those that had it easier than I did. See, when you're in that mindset, you believe that you're owed something because your life was so hard. And unfortunately, we have accepted that as a society, some of us, where we feel narcissistic, entitled, that we're owed a different life just because of our circumstances. I wanted to say earlier, I bet if they did studies that a lot of people, if they were being honest with people, most people have been molested. Most people have been touched or groomed or exploited, but they've never talked about it. Or if they have, nobody believed in them. Nobody believed them. So they carried that around for years, rehashing that over and over and over in their minds with no hope. And then they create a pattern of living where they think it's okay for people to do that to them, where they get in toxic relationships that it's okay for people to beat them. It's okay for people to talk down to them. It's okay for people to do these things. It's sad. Hello, GM. How are you doing? It's sad as a society that we accept this. It's sad that we turn our back on the people that continue to try to get out of these situations. The social services in this area is atrocious. There's not much here for people that need help. So where do they go? They go to self-medicate. They hit the streets. They go from house to house trying to find some kind of shelter from the storm. Like the title says, Pandora's box, have we gone too far? You know, I work in the social services arena. I've seen it for a lot of years. I've seen a lot of drug addicts. I've seen a lot of alcoholics. I've seen a lot of opiate users, heroin users. I've worked in detoxes. I've worked in halfway houses. I've worked in inpatient rehabs. I've worked in prisons. I've worked in all areas. And one thing remained the same. When the pain becomes more than your ability to change the situation, most people go back to what they know. It's not a form of weakness. It's not a form of denial because most people know that they have a problem with drugs or alcohol. Most people know that they have a problem with managing their finances. Most people, if you ask them and they're honest with you, they will tell you, yes, I have a problem with overeating. Yes, I have a problem with, you know, working out or not working out. I have a problem with, you know, driving my car on empty and, running out of gas all the time. They'll tell you if they're honest with themselves and they're honest with you, they will tell you their flaws. But many times, if you go to give a suggestion on how to change that, they'll say thank you. Or if you want to help them, they'll take your help. But it's only temporary. The solution is only temporary. That's why instead of giving somebody some fish, you can teach them how to fish and they'll never be hungry a day in their life. You know, that's what I'm trying to do right here. I'm trying to teach people how to change so that they don't have to continue on. That's so true. Many people want to change when it becomes a situation that becomes out of their control or they're forced to. But it isn't until, like you said, that they want to change. You can't do a thing for them, but you can be there loving them from a distance. There is a such thing as loving people from a distance. You don't turn your back on those people that you care about, but you don't involve yourself so much that it hurts you or takes you down too. Because while people are in their afflictions, they will take you down with them if you allow it. I was watching Casey Anthony's case um, the other day. I don't even remember what day it was because I've never watched it. And I've always heard about it. And that was a sad case. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that. It's a sad case. I still am holding out on judgment whether she was guilty or not. Sometimes I think what is familiar is just so much easier for people to continue rather than making a change or what's more positive and healthy. Translation is such a difficult process and task for most people. You're right. Completely correct. Yes, we can know. Our doctors can tell us, hey, if you continue eating like this, you're going to develop heart disease or you're going to develop diabetes or whatever. How many people have lost their limbs because of diabetes and they still continue to eat like they do? They don't take their medication, they don't change because we have that mentality that it's not going to happen to me. Or we have that mentality, well, you know what? Nobody tells me how to live my life. And that's where we're at today as a society is, you can tell people or you can suggest things and they tell you to shut up, stay in your lane. That is true as well. Sometimes people simply do not feel that they're deserving of a better quality of life. You know, in AA, they talk about nothing changes, nothing changes. That basically means that If you don't change anything about your perception of your life, then nothing's going to change, not a thing. And that is the most simplistic definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result. Nobody tells me what to do as a defense mechanism or denial. You're right on point. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. You're right on point. That is a defense mechanism or it's a denial of their problem. I can agree with you. There was a lot of years people would tell me, "Hey, stop drinking, stop drugging, stop doing this, stop doing that." I even had an individual that is very dear to my heart to this day, even though we don't speak because of my behaviors that drove them away. She asked me one time, she said, if alcohol is so great, name one thing that it's done to better your life. Has it given you has it bought you a house? Has it bought you a better vehicle? Has it given you a better position in your job? Has it increased your health? Man, she was hardcore about it. You see those questions right there? I was in the back seat squirming because I knew she was right. And nobody likes somebody to be right. So I smarted off and I said, well, it's gotten me drunk. And I kind of chuckled. But after that, I knew that I had a alcohol problem. I just couldn't admit it to myself. And I knew she was right by the question that she asked. I had just never thought of it that way. Alcohol didn't give me anything, it took from me. I was just too blind to see it. And I believe that, just like my title says, has Pandora's box been opened and gone too far? Like have we gone too far with our perception of life as we know it today? Or has it always been this way throughout the years? And now I'm just at the point in my life where I'm seeing it how my parents used to see it and what they used to tell me. And I used to deny. And now I'm older. So therefore I see it. And now just a reflection of what used to be. Yeah, she was actually a mother of one of my girlfriends. So her son was an addict. So she was in Al-Anon. She was in all that stuff. So she was very active in sober living. And you know what's sad at the time before I mean, I don't want to lie to you guys. When I first got into the field of being a therapist and addiction counselor, I was still struggling with my demons. I was still struggling with my alcoholism. I was struggling. I thought that I could still drink and still go tell people how to live their lives. I was foolish. I was thinking. I used to joke with people, "Hey, I'm doing field study. That's why I'm doing it. That way I'll know exactly what they're going through." What a fool. You know, I had to get sober. So I ask you guys that are in the chat, do you believe that we've gone too far, or what would you think would be the most simplest way to get back to close this box? Do you hear my biggest fan out there barking? What would we what would we need to get back into to kind of close this box and get our lives back in order, starting with home? One thing that I know that we don't do that we used to do back in the day, we don't sit around and talk about anything important anymore. We're always in such a rush. It seems like people fill every moment of the day with something and don't leave any time for important things. We don't talk about anything important anymore. Says I've been on that journey for the last 8 years. Yes, I've been able to finally move on. It's a tough journey, isn't it, Aquarius? It's a tough journey. I commend you for hanging in there. GM, you're right on point. You're right on point. Self forgiveness is it's difficult because many times people ask you, "Hey, have you forgiven yourself? Have you gotten to the point where you can say, "Hey, I forgive you for being such a crappy person to yourself. I forgive you for all the damage that you've done to other people." Yes, it is. I agree with you, Jim. It is very difficult. That's why I'm saying I commend you for being on that journey. Don't give up. You're worth it. You're worth it. Yes, we all struggle. We all struggle. And it's hard to find places where we feel empowered rather than judged. And I hope that you continue to come here and know that your voice matters. Your voice matters, your story matters, and that people are going to support you rather than put you down. I hope that you have somebody in your immediate circle that does that as well. If not, keep logging in. I talk crazy sometimes. I talk long-winded, but if this helps you, keep doing it. That's why I do these things because I want to help people. I don't want to victimize them. I don't want to downgrade them. I don't want to talk down to them because we all have issues. You know, Unfortunately, some people's issues are just in their head. Their issues are in their head and they can't let go. I know how that feels. I had it for a lot of years. Like I just said at the very beginning, I walked around and imprisoned in my own mind. Nothing I did was good enough. Nothing I said was good enough. Nothing I tried to complete was good enough. Always felt like, how come this can't happen for me? How come this situation didn't go better? How come I always end up losing? How come my financial situation is not better? This, that, and the other. But you need to hang in there. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that compliment. I'm not judgmental. I mean, how can I judge anybody when I've judged myself for so many years so harshly? You have to find common ground with you. You know, always felt that I wouldn't make it to 52, 53, 54. When you're young, you don't have that sensation of, well, I'm going to make it to be old when you're living a life of detriment. You're burning the candle at both ends and you're just burning hot. You're coming in hot. And now that I'm here, I'm just kind of like, you know what? I always used to say a prayer, and I wasn't very religious, and I'm not trying to push religion on anybody. So please do not take that, okay? Because I've had my battles with it, and I've had my misunderstandings with it. And the last thing I want to do is push it off on anybody that comes in here. So whatever your belief is your belief. I'm not going to challenge it. I'm not going to, downgrade it, whatever. What I'm about to say is this, okay? I always said this prayer, even while I was in the deepest of my addiction. I always said, please, God, help me get out of this and let me give more than I take. Let me give more than I take because I was a taker, you know? I was a taker. And I always said that prayer and I always said, because people used to tell me that lady that I was talking to you about, her name was Susan. She used to tell me, just pray about it. Just pray about it. And that used to anger me. It used to anger me because how could I pray for something or someone that I didn't believe in? My own earthly father and I didn't have a good relationship. So how could I be praying to somebody that I call father with the same mindset as the one that I have on the earth? It wasn't happening. Or I'd pray really quick, looking for that magical that magical manifestation, and it didn't happen, and that would just make me angry. And I'd just give up on it. And I eventually found my own spiritual awakening. I found my own spiritual understanding. Am I perfect? No. There's still a lot of guilt because, I might not be drinking, I might not be drugging, might not be doing all these other things, but I'm far from perfect. I'm far from perfect. But I suit up and show up every day hoping to be a better person than I was yesterday. That's all I can do for myself. When you've been face down in your own vomit, praying for death because you feel like you don't belong, you don't fit in, the world judges you at every turn. Had I not been so vain, I probably would have ended it a long time ago, but I'm so vain that I couldn't do it. Now I know better, but at the point of my darkest moments, I reached out. I reached out for anything and anybody because when you're hurting, you just got to reach out and let people know, hey, I'm not good. I need you to listen. I need you just to listen. Don't give me advice. Don't try to save me. Don't try to make this go away for me. Just listen, please. Just hear me out. And if you can't do that, then I'm not going to talk to you. Sometimes that's what you need to say. Please just listen. That's all I need. Nothing more, nothing less. Another solution I would suggest to you guys, if you are struggling and if you watch this on replay, I have an online journal that I've been writing in for. I haven't wrote in it so much over the past couple years, so probably about 17, 18 years. But the first day that I went to school as a therapist, I started writing in that because I felt that I needed to get everything out of here because there was so much stuff in there. There was so much anger. There was so much frustration. There was so much confusion. There was so much doubt and worry and stress and anxiety and depression. I started writing. I didn't worry whether it made sense. I just started writing. I didn't care who read it. I didn't care what they said because I was writing to save my life. And I would do it once, twice, three times a day until my mind emptied, until I could find some peace. And I kept praying and I kept reading and I kept writing. And one day the storm lifted And I kept doing it because not out of necessity, but because that became my life. I've told my clients in the past, hang on until the miracle happens. It's not going to happen overnight. Any small progress that you make is better than yesterday's perceived failure. Hang on to those things. Don't be your worst critic. Don't listen to the voices in your head. If you know that you're honestly doing something that's being harmful, then be accountable. But don't go there alone. Find somebody to go with you so that you can talk it out, so that you can find peace, so that you can move on from it. Some of us hang on to things that we should have let go of years ago, and we're still hurting ourselves with that same thing. Yes, indeed. You know, you have to know that you're worth your best. The greatest connection you'll have with yourself is when you finally know yourself. You won't give up on you anymore. Many people say they love themselves, but they really don't because they don't know how to love. They know how to give the empty love to people, but they don't know how to receive love from themselves. I used to hug my mom. I used to hug my mom, and it felt like an empty person hugging me back. And I used to hurt so badly. And I thought, what's wrong with me? Why can't this lady love me? What did I ever do to deserve being treated like this? So you know what I set out to love myself, to learn how to love myself, so that I didn't expect love from somebody else. You know, that way I could love her, even though if she didn't know how to love me back. Because I had to remember that not everybody knows how to do it correctly. Maybe they weren't shown. Maybe that is the missing piece in their heart to keep them from being full. I did a stream, and there's a lot of streams about these kind of things on my channel that have nothing to do with true crime. One of them was called Missing Pieces. Yes, exactly. One of them's called Missing Pieces, and I came up with this theory on my own. It may be somebody else's, but I came up with it on my own. When somebody has a missing piece in their heart or their soul, they go artificially trying to find that in the world, no matter what it might be. And they use it over and over and over until it stops working. They wear it out and they try to replicate it or get something better. And in the process, instead of fixing their soul, fixing their heart, they're destroying it. It's got a lot of destruction. I hope from here on out, I can just continue to give hope and love to people that need it. I'm about to go work out, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I thought I'd just get on here and be 12 gauge without having to talk about true crime, without having to talk about situational things, to give you a little bit of insight about who 12 gauge is. This is me. I don't put on a persona for the camera. I don't put on a persona for YouTube. If nobody in the world watches these, I keep having faith that one day I'll get an audience and it'll help them when they're ready. Aquarius, you keep your head up. Keep that hope in your hand and squeeze it tightly. When you want to give up, squeeze it tightly and know that people are pulling for you. I'm pulling for you, even though I don't know you. GM Carey's pulling for you. And like I said in my last video, if you feel all alone, you can email me, even if you don't want a response. Just put on there, hey, I don't want a response. I just want to vent. And if you trust me to read it, or if you want me to delete it, just get it out. Get those thoughts and feelings and emotions out because they need to be gone. You can do this. Yes, we are. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Talk to y'all soon.